But who are these wealthy people? Most of them are small business owners. Most of the people, and he's been talking about the ones over $250,000, are small business owners. Do small business owners create jobs? 80% of all the jobs in America are with small businesses. Now here's one that just, I couldn't believe it. Matter of fact, when I first heard it, there's a Professor De Souza at King's College in New York, and he brought this out in an article in Forbes magazine about maybe a week ago. And then I went and read the Wall Street Journal, I guess it was on September 8th, and this is true. President Obama, through the XM Bank, has given Brazil $2 billion. Now, why is he giving Brazil $2 billion? Anybody know?
Drill offshore.
To drill offshore. Now, what you may not know is, what are the Brazilians supposed to do with that oil? Well, if we gave them $2 billion, then surely we get a preference in buying that oil, right? No. The deal was, we give you $2 billion, you drill offshore, and you keep the oil and the money. Now, why would he do this? Think back to his father, who thought that wealthier nations should redistribute their wealth to the lesser and underdeveloped nations. So, our monies go to pay for that sort of thing. How about NASA's director recently? His quote was, from now on, the primary mission of America's space agency is to improve the relations with the Muslim world. Space, does this make any sense at all? No. I'm frankly, I tried to analyze it and I don't understand it. So people asked the NASA director, what did you mean? And he said, well, President Obama, this is his quote, President Obama wanted me to find a way to reach out to the Muslim world and engage much more with dominant Muslim nations to help them feel good about their historic contributions to science, math, and engineering. I thought we were trying to take people to Mars and learn how to do things and create inventions. You know, I like Tang, and that came from NASA. You know, okay, so what kind of statements are we hearing from our president? He said recently, we need to pool our sovereignty. What does that mean? That means we need to be subject to the international government and the international community. He calls us citizens of the world. Think maybe he heard that from his dad? I truly believe, and I'll bet some of you too, that President Obama is embarrassed by our success. I don't know how many of you have heard the term about American exceptionalism. Many years ago, people began to say, America is exceptional for a lot of different reasons. All right? His quote was, yes, America is exceptional, but so is Great Britain, so is France, and so is Italy. A recent study that I was looking at, matter of fact, just yesterday, said 70% of all Americans on a survey will say that they are very proud of being an American. The Italians, the French, the Swedes, and the Germans, all below 40%, are proud of being who they are. So this is what we want to pool our sovereignty with. We want political people who are going to share America's sovereignty. I, for one, don't. You know, I think part of it is, and like she was saying, I had 4,500 employees when I was at Halliburton, and I had 56 countries where I had people in. And I traveled all over Middle East and Africa and Europe and all sorts of places. And every time I went to any of these countries, I always found people who did not like America. And it began to dawn on me one day why that is so. Now, I come from Texas, so you'll understand what I'm going to say next. Remember when the Dallas Cowboys was America's favorite team? Well, I remember, if you don't. All right. How many of you folks up here in Ohio liked it when Dallas Cowboys would get beat? All right. I think that that's part of the problem that we're seeing, is we have other countries, other people who would really like to see the U.S. falter. And I believe that Hillary Clinton and President Obama want to placate those people by sharing our sovereignty. Why else would he think that terrorists should have constitutional rights rather than been treated like combatants? Now here's one that's going to kind of freak you guys out. At least it did me when I first saw it. President Obama and Hillary Clinton have been discussing an arms treaty. And this arms treaty they want the U.S. to sign is to, and let me get it exactly, limit citizens owning or possessing small arms and light weapons.
No.
Is that not the Second Amendment?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, see, gun control people can't do it through our U.S. laws because you and I complain. So what they're going to try and do it is under international law. They're also working on another treaty with the G20, the 20 most developed countries, to limit the death penalty. Because see, once it becomes international law, once we sign a treaty, then it is also our law. All right? That's why President Bush had a bunch of treaties unsigned that Clinton signed in order to get away from some of this, because we're citizens of the world. Okay, let me wrap up with one other fact. I love facts. The Heritage Foundation, are most of you familiar with the Heritage Foundation?
Yes.
If you're not, you need to get on the Heritage Foundation because they have all these background documents, lots of speakers. It's one of the richest websites for what I'll call factual things. Anyway, they have this index that's been going on since '99, and it's called the Financial Freedom Index, and it rates every country for their financial freedom. Where do you think the United States places? Should be 1, you'd think. We're 8. We're number 8. We have dropped 14% in 2 years. What happened in 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So, in summary, I'm getting excited here, and I can see the looks in your face, but what do we do about it? If we don't elect the right politicians, people like you've heard from, you know, I know Congressman Austria covers part of Ross County, and I live in Pickaway County, and he will sit down with you, and we've argued about all sorts of stuff. I don't think the government understands what's called the financial crisis. I was working at USA, one of the largest financial firms in America, and at that time, in the it was about 2005, the government came to us and said, you must make loans to people who can't afford it. If you don't make home loans to people who can't afford it, we're going to take away your ability to make mortgage loans. All right? So it was either we go out of the mortgage loan business or we had to make loans to people we knew couldn't afford it. Our CEO was the most decorated helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and he told them, stick it in your ear. All right? Yeah. And for the whole time this is in San Antonio, Texas, where I reported the CEO, we would have Newt Gingrich come in. We'd have Hillary Clinton, McCain, all these different people, the governor, Rick Perry, Richard Shelby was the head of the banking committee then because the Republicans had it. All these people would come through, and we would talk about how much the government was trying to affect our business and make us do things that we knew. We were sitting there in 2006, and we knew this financial crisis were coming. I sat right there with Richard Shelby, Senator Shelby, right across the table from him with the CEO, and we told him, Richard, you know what is going to happen. And what you're going to do is these big financial firms are going to fail, They are going to fail, and this government is going to give them hundreds of billions of dollars. And he said, yes, you're right. But what can we do? We've got this idea that everybody needs a house. We went from 40% home ownership to 67% home ownership in order to placate the views that started with President Clinton, and George Bush did go along with it. And so we ended up having to make all these loans and do these things that we all saw were coming. In 2008, I took all of my money in stocks and I took them out because I knew it was coming. You're going to tell me that Wall Street didn't know it was coming? We know Wall Street knew it was coming. All right? We have not fixed this problem, folks. I am telling you. I stood right there with Congressman Austria. So he's asked me to testify in Congress to explain this thing. Because most people that are in financial firms will not talk because they are afraid of the government. All right? So, we've got to watch out for this value-added tax. We've got to watch out for gasoline tax. What we're going to see is conversation about the extending the Bush taxes. But what they're going to do is stuff's going to be snuck around all over the place like they do in Europe. I'm telling you, everything you do in Europe is taxed. And all the prices are high. And they have 1/3 the average income that we do. We won't be able to freely run our businesses. What's this healthcare stuff about? They're going to tell businesses how to run their healthcare, whether they can afford it or not. They're going to placate labor and tell them, okay, we'll put in these laws where business cannot adjust their people. In Italy, if you have a business that has 150 employees or more, you cannot decide what to make. I sat right there with the New Holland executive, the New Holland tractor and case people, some of you may know them, sat right there in Umbria, Italy with him, and he told me, they decide how many tractors I'm going to build every week. And he says they tell every other company in Italy that has 150 employees or more what they're going to make. Folks, this is what we have to look forward if we don't do something. And I guess I would close it with saying, will politics prevail over economics? I think that's where we're headed if we don't do something. Lastly, there's some brochures back there if some of y'all haven't seen it. The lady here is shading her baby from the sun. It's a Huckabee. Mike Huckabee is coming to Ohio Christian University on, thank you,
Yes.
on October 27th, 6 to 8 p.m. Some of you may remember Ralph Reed from Contract with America, he and Newt Gingrich. Ken Blackwell, who ran for governor. We got a bunch of people that are coming to Ohio Christian Leadership Center. The tickets are free, but you have to go on Ohio Christian's website and sign up for them. So I'd love to see all of you there that night. Thank you very much.